Hello and welcome back to Archetype Builds. This is going to be a review of Playtest 7, and we're going to start with the Barbarian changes. So, Barbarian, mostly unchanged from the last playtest. They've moved the level of a couple of things. They've returned Danger Sense to level 2 and moved Primal Knowledge up to level 3. They've brought in Instinctive Pounce from Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, and there was a note made that they are basically grabbing a lot of stuff from Tasha's Cauldron and putting it in this version of the game. Reckless Attack is now going to grant advantage for the entire round, so you're also going to get your Reckless on opportunity attacks or other features that allow you to take an attack as a reaction. I think this is a nice little boost to the class, a class that often got chances to opportunity attack or to use some other things like the Polar Master or other class abilities for opportunity attacks, so that's great. We see as well a change to Brutal Critical. I liked adding your Barbarian level to the critical, but what they've done instead is they've added an extra damage dice. It's not the damage dice of your weapon, it's a D12 always. So your criticals as a Barbarian at 9th level and on are going to add a D12 of extra damage. That's really good, and that also means that the more attacks you make, the more chances you have of getting a critical, and you don't care what weapon you do that with. So this makes a two-handed fighting Barbarian a little bit more viable, which is exciting. This Brutal Critical will also apply to unarmed strikes, so a Boxer Barbarian is going to be in good shape as well. A bunch of the higher level features are basically back where you expect them to be, the same as the 5e versions. The Barbarian subclasses are also included here. Path of the Berserker is basically unchanged. They have renamed the Totem Barbarian the Path of the Wild Heart and made all of the different features across its entire span different animals with minor tweaks to each of them. A big motivating factor behind the changes to the Path of the Wild Heart Barbarian is to make these options more equal. So that means Bear Totem Barbarians, I'm so sorry, you're now going to have to choose 2 damage types to get resistance to, and you can't choose Force or Psychic. This is along with buffs. Eagle is now going to allow you to combine the dash and disengage as a bonus action while you're raging, and then the wolf aura is extended to 10 feet to give advantage to your allies. I think that this pairs nicely with, depending on what your group needs. I doubt that you're ever going to be taking Eagle still, but Bear is still very good for particular combats, and keep in mind that this is whenever you activate your rage. So if you are running into, the Temple of Elemental Evil for fire, you can choose fire damage when you go into a rage, and that will be extremely helpful. So if it's obvious what your opponent is going to do, you're going to have some ability to counter it. Wolf, I think, is a great backup option, giving your entire melee party a lot of additional damage by giving them advantage on those attack rolls. I will say, this is party specific, right? If you have a lot of casters, if you have a lot of ranged people, you're still not going to choose the wolf. You're still not going to choose the eagle. So it's mostly a nerf. The level 6 abilities are all about proficiency and expertise. The elephant will give you athletics or insight, and then you can get expertise in one of those instead if you already have it. Speaking of animals, here's the cat. Owl is going to give you investigation or perception, expertise if you already have it, and spider is going to give you stealth or survival, expertise if you already have it. So, if we are talking about the roles in the party, your elephant is probably the least useful option, but your owl is an incredible investigator, and your spider is an incredible infiltrator. So, that's super cool. At 14th level, you get 3 new animal options that are on a crazy power level. Ram is going to allow you, when you hit a creature that is large or smaller, they may make a strength saving throw or be knocked prone, so you're essentially getting topple as a class feature. Obviously, you're attacking recklessly, so you're probably not doing this for you, you're doing this for your allies, right? Unless you chose Wolf in the beginning, in which case your allies are up. So maybe not Ram. Falcon is going to give you the fly speed that you're used to with Eagle. And then Lion is really exciting. Lion is going to make it so that enemies within 5 feet of you have disadvantage to attack anyone other than you. I guess it's your intimidating roar. This is an amazing tank feature. I think combine this with the bear and who cares for level 6. I think this is still a very, very good tank build because it takes the super survivability, it trades a little bit of that in exchange for this taunt mechanic at level 14, making it a strong frontliner. So the new subclass is Path of the World Tree. There is a kind of Yggdrasil equivalent in D&D mythology that is kind of Norse inspired, and it has this not a literal living tree, but kind of like a cosmic tree that connects all the different planes of the multiverse. So this is a barbarian that taps into the power from that tree. At level 3, basically when you activate your rage, you're going to regain some hit points, and then every turn on your rage, you're going to be able to choose another creature to gain temporary hit points. This is at the start of your turns. It's not an action, it's not a bonus action, it's nothing. It just happens. So this makes you a pretty decent support barbarian, and the number of temporary hit points you're adding is equal to a number of d6s equal to your rage bonus. So we've seen this with some other barbarian features in this playtest. So that's going to be 2 to 3, so on average 7 to 10 temporary hit points every turn to one of your allies, and obviously you're probably either like piling them onto the person who's getting mainly hit, or you're varying it up so that people can maintain and top up their temporary hit points. Very good, and that's just your third level feature. Level 6, Branches of the Tree, is essentially like a yank mechanic. If a creature ends its turn within 20 feet of you, you can use your reaction to yank it to within 5 feet of you. It does specifically say that they teleport, so you don't need to worry about walls, I guess, if you can see them. And it does say an unoccupied space you can see within 5 feet of yourself. So it doesn't say it needs to be on the side that they are. You can pull them to the other side of you. It does say the space the target teleports to must be on a surface or a liquid that can support it. Otherwise, it doesn't teleport, so you can't teleport them off a cliff if you're standing on the edge of the cliff. Still very good for like drawing enemy attention, positioning on the battlefield, that kind of thing. Level 10, Battering Roots, is going to have tendrils of the world tree extend from your melee weapons. Your reach with that weapon increases to 10 feet, and when you hit with it, you can activate the push or topple property, even if you're using another mastery property with that weapon. What this might be pointing us to is like maybe a cleave or a sap or something. Some other weapon mastery is going to be your primary focus, and now with level 10, you are sort of like turning that weapon into also a push and topple weapon, also with the reach property. It does say the reach increases by 10 feet, not by 5 feet and not to 10 feet. So if you've got a polearm that is already reaching 10 feet, it can now reach 20 feet, which is one of the silliest things I've ever seen in my life. That is hilarious. At level 14, you're basically getting like a form of teleport or plane shift. You can touch a teleportation circle or a tree. Probably easier to find a tree, right? Seems more helpful. When you do so, you can specify a destination in general terms, such as the City of Brass or the Elemental Plane of Fire, and up to 5 willing creatures within 30 feet of you appear at that destination. And that's a once per long rest. So that's fantastic utility and exactly the kind of thing a high-level campaign loves to see from your Barbarian. So I really like this Barbarian subclass. It's got crazy features. It's sort of all over the place in terms of what role it can fill in the party, but the sum total of the parts is strong. For the Zealot, Divine Fury, you get to choose Radiant or Necrotic damage, so you get to choose whether you're serving like a Celestial or like an evil thing. Warrior of the Gods is going to do its usual thing, but you're also going to get to heal for a d12 when something else restores your hit points, something magical. So it kind of boosts healing to you, which is nice. Zealous Presence can now be reactivated using a use of your rage. I don't think that trade-off is super good, but it is available to you. And then the level 14 Rage Beyond Death is going to have some flavorful and mechanical upsides. You essentially now have a fly speed equal to your speed. You can hover, you can move through creatures and objects as if they were difficult terrain. And then when you're hit by an attack roll, you can use your reaction to turn that hit into a miss, which is really, really, really good. And then I guess you're supposed to be like this spectral, like crazy thing. This form lasts for 1 minute or until you drop to 0 hit points. So again, this is meant to be a very like temporary state that you're in. Essentially, like you get knocked down, you pop back up with Relentless Rage, and while you're popped up, you're all souped up on this divine energy, and then if you get put down again, that's going to go away. So those are the Barbarian changes. Overall, lots of interesting buffs, primarily in the subclass. I don't think the base class has a substantial difference from what we've seen in the past, but the subclasses seem to be really juiced, like really cool. So that's exciting for Barbarians.